Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to this meeting of the Scrutiny Committee on Monday the 13th of November. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Councillor Best.
And Councillor Carr.
Thank you very much. Item 2, declarations of interest. Members of the Fire and Rescue Authority are reminded of their personal responsibility to both verbally and in writing declare any personal and or prejudicial interest in respect of matters contained in this agenda in accordance with provisions of Local Government Act 2000, the Fire and Rescue Authority Standing Orders and Members Code of Conduct. Any declarations? Item 3, Chairman's announcements. Other than to welcome members of the Welsh Audit Office to our meeting, I don't have any announcements. Item 4, to receive minutes of the Scrutiny Committee held on the 4th of September 2023. Go through page for accuracy. Page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and page 7. Remove those?
I'd like to move, Chair. Chair, only yourself and Councillor Hughes were present. You and I were present at that meeting, so if you can second them as well.
Okay, second. Next are items for decision. Item number 5 is strategic risk report on page 9.
So thank you, Chair. I'm going to cover this one for us. Apologies, Suzanne and Wayne, who were going to cover these two reports, were double scheduled for today's meeting, so we couldn't attend. So the report that you see in front of you, starting at page 9 of your papers, is the Strategic Risk Register report for quarter 2 of the financial year 23-24, which covers July to September, so this is an update at that point in time. Within the report, you can see that at the point of publishing this report, there were no new strategic risks, but I will be advising you of one that is hot off the press in a few minutes' time. No risks were downgraded to departmental risks, and no departmental risks were upgraded to strategic risks. So just for everybody's benefit, we maintain a 2-level risk register, one of departmental risks, and then we have the strategic risks. So if there is something that is of such significance at the departmental risk level that it impacts the whole of the service or needs additional support and action, it can be elevated up to a strategic risk. And similarly, once a strategic risk has been managed to a certain level, it may then be determined, if we're not going to tolerate that level, that we may then effectively downgrade that to a departmental risk. But none of that happens in the last quarter, and no risks were closed. Moving on to part B of the paper from page 12 onwards, you can see the strategic risks that we've got in level of importance with their risk score. So the risk score is made out of the likelihood and the impact that it will have on the organisation or our communities, and we can see the risk scores that we've got there for all of our different risks. And then moving on to page 15, you can then see the progress of those risks on a quarterly basis going forward. And you can see, for example, on page 16, we have a risk score that declines from December 22 to September 23, where we're starting to put in place those mitigation actions that we have against and control measures that we have against all of our risks. So I did mention at the beginning that I'd give you something hot off the press, which is at the last SMT meeting on the 16th of November, we agreed as a senior management team to had an additional risk relating to culture. And the wording of that risk is if we do not adequately nurture an inclusive, psychologically safe and discriminatory-free culture, then we will not be able to respond to future challenges but experience negative effects impacting on our workforce, stakeholders and communities, including damage to our reputation, poor staff retention, poor well-being of staff and loss of trust. And the owner for that risk will be the Chief Fire Officer, so that you, next time you receive a copy of this report at the end of Q3, we will have that additional strategic risk there. Just looking at the rest of the paper, I'm happy to answer any questions or try to answer any questions on any of these strategic risks, but it's for you as a scrutiny panel to provide scrutiny at this point, and I'll do my best to assist.
Okay, all right. I'll start in here. Any questions?
Yeah, if I may, Chair. So maybe our scrutiny begins, and if I could raise, I think it's 4 points, Chair, and maybe Sarah, you want to make a note and come back at the end.
Yeah.
I think the first one is sort of generally to welcome the papers, very methodical, and to me it looks very comprehensive and all inclusive. So I welcome that, particularly the additional measure that's been introduced by the SMT. First of all, the question is, as mentioned on page 10, that the senior management team reviews the risk register on a regular basis. If you could just give some insight about how often that takes place, the sort of time that's given to consideration of the risk register, and roughly during the course of the last 12 months, how many times it's been revisited. The second item then is just, I think it's a typo on page 11, where the text begins, no new strategic risks were, and there's a blank. I think it's probably identified or similar, but just for the record, if we could fill that in for completion. Good question on page 26. Yeah, I didn't see that one. It's on the emergency services network. I read somewhere that we were looking at replacing the system in 2024. But in the report then, the date of 2030 is given. I just wanted some clarification about what has happened to put that back by 6 years. And finally, on page 30, the Fire Safety Act, we're told that that's going to be reevaluated in spring of next year. I was just wondering if we have any feedback, maybe at this stage, or any inkling of what might be included in that act that we just need to start ramping up for. That's what's concerned. So I think the points I wanted to raise. I said I want you to check on anything else, I'll come back to you. I'll just find the right button.
Over to you.
Thank you. I very much appreciate you welcoming the paper and its comprehensiveness, so I'll make sure that I do feed that back to the team. So with regards to the senior management team reviewing the risk register, on a quarterly basis, those of us that own risks update them on our business management information system. And then I believe, is it quarterly, Geraint? We take them either to our SMT planning or business meetings, and we run through the risk register and discuss any emerging issues or any additional control measures that we need to look at. and whether the risks are travelling in the right direction, and looking at those. So we review them on a quarterly basis amongst the SMT, and then SMT owners of the risks, whether they're strategic or departmental, update those on a quarterly basis. So we do, and in those meetings we do apply a very strong critical friend approach across the management team.
Okay.
So that was question 1.
Yeah.
Question 2, well spotted for the missing word. I'll make sure that that's put in there. You are correct, the word was raised that was missing, so apologies for that. We'll make sure that's there. With regards to the 6-year delay, and for these next 2 questions, should I hand over to you, Gary?
Yeah, I'll certainly cover off the airwave one, and I think I'll have to ask your councillors to refer me back to the page number for the last one. But with the airwave one, the replacement of airwave, that was initially scheduled for 2019. And it's an entire replacement for the emergency services, so the police, ambulance and the fire service, the systems that they use, the mobilising system. The intention was to replace the existing systems with sort of mobile phone type technology, but with the same functionality as radio systems. That was the intention, and then there was a complete project program of rolling out of when they were going to do this replacement across all of the country of each of the sectors. But unfortunately, the technology still doesn't exist that they want. So it's in concept that they want a mobile phone type technology that you could almost on the press of a button use exactly the same as a radio, but there is no manufacturer that makes that type of technology at the moment. So it's still very much in concept. You know, it is a huge project. The government realised the delays that this is causing, and it is costing a significant amount, the delays of implementation of such a project, because the existing contract holders of Airwave, obviously the contract ended back in 2019. So it's on a rolling annual replacement programme for the contract for Airwave now. So it's costing the government millions of pounds to extend that contract while waiting for a replacement technology to be brought in. So it is very much a watch and brief from the service on that one.
Judging by the way this has gone, because I was on the ICT committee for a while with Chris Williams, and this was flagged up 10 years ago. Judging by the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if that end date gets moved again. Got major problems. We're trying to get someone to take it on, provide the equipment that we all need. And I think the last quote I saw was it was costing the government £1 million a week to keep the contract going. That's UK government. Because obviously it covers all EMS.
Yeah,
we're using out-of-date equipment. From a personal point of view, doing my day job, I'm constantly looking around for radios to work. Batteries that haven't died.
right.
It is a problem.
Okay.
The other one, there was a page 30 on the Fire Safety Act. So this one is obviously the following on from Grenfell and changes to the Act which make us a statutory consultee as part of the business planning process, the planning process and for construction and ongoing developments. Obviously, again, keeping a watching brief on this, there are changes being brought around specifically in Wales, covering off these elements and our role to play in that. It will undoubtedly have significant resource implications on us and the level of response that we'd have to make in ongoing planning submissions. So yeah, again, we're working closely with Welsh Government on any changes that are likely to be brought about as part of that Act.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Trevor and Adrian, any questions from yourselves?
No, I'm good, thanks, Jay. Yes, please, if I may, Chair. Reference the radios, you said that, you're working out a date in regards to the radio itself. How does that affect the risk of operations within the organisation then?
Yeah, Councillor Watkins, I don't think it's the technology still works and works fine. It's the contractual arrangements, and obviously the anticipation was to move to a more up to date, more improved technology. Unfortunately, the technology that doesn't exist anyway yet. But I think the actual compatibility and the workability of the existing airwave radios is fine. It's just a matter of the contractual arrangements that are in place for that. We've got one of our operational colleagues here. I don't know if Mark, if you want to add to it.
Yeah, I use the airwave radio quite a lot. They're fantastic pieces of kit. They're different to what the police use. We've got an older model, but we never lose signal. And if we want to point of an incident, we can. So it is a really good system, but I believe that over the next few years, it needs to be moved forward into something better and more functional for all emergency services. But at the moment, it's absolutely fine for the purpose it's designed for.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I've just got one question on the command and control system. Right, we have the South Wales Police. It says about potential compatibility issues. Have we agreed with South Wales a way forward on this, or is it because obviously it's gone from 8 to 16 as a risk? Where are we at the moment? Because I noticed it says that they're on the point of procuring something. Are we going along the same lines, or?
Yes,
Yeah,
my
I'll pick this one
understanding.
up.
Go on then.
Yeah, it was flagged to us by South Wales Police that they were procuring a new command and control system. Initially, they weren't considering us as a partner in that going forward. So obviously, with the joint fire control being located in the police system, we always anticipated that in future changes to a command and control system, whilst our systems are sort of running out of kilter at the moment, they're different systems. We hope that should changes be brought around in a sort of potential timescale, that we could migrate then onto one platform. Initially, they said they hadn't considered us as a partner in their project. So fortunately enough, we caught that in time before they actually went out to procurement, went out to market. So that then they did amend their paperwork, amended their process and the market testing, and made us as a sort of a potential partner in the future. We'll still be running our system for the next year or two, but at that point, when hopefully the police's new system will be up and running as a named partner on that procurement exercise, if it's compatible for us at that point, then we'd have the option of going with the same system that they've got. So it was, the reason the risk was increased is because the potential changes to the system and being left out of that process. But once we've had that negotiation with the police, and we have an ongoing quarterly meeting with the police now, what we call a silver group meeting for the joint public service centre. We sort of kept up to date with their progress in that project and making sure that any future requirements of ours are built into that.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Okay, any other questions? No. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is item 6, assurance metrics.
Yes. So that's me again, Chair, thank you. So this report identifies for the Scrutiny Committee the assurance metrics that we have within the organisation. Members will be aware that we have a number of strategic indicators that we have to legally report to Welsh Government on a regular basis and minimum annually. But over and above those strategic indicators, as an organisation, we've developed a suite of assurance metrics. And in the last year, we've begun to move these assurance metrics into mainstream business as usual, improving the measures against the tasks and publishing more information in the form of our quick read annual improvement plan, which was published on the 31st of October. It's an absolutely riveting read, and I'm sure you studied it cover to cover. But what we're doing now with our assurance measures are we're moving into planning for the next year and evaluating our progress so far this year. We're continuing to work with departments and teams to identify measures to increase transparency across the organisation. And we'll be publishing regular updates and are in the process of confirming the frequency based on the availability of robust data. So I'll now just talk you through our assurance metrics report that we've got in front of you. And the purpose of this is to provide members of the Fire and Rescue Authority, and particularly the Scrutiny Committee today, with an overview of our assurance metrics and the use of those reports in scrutinising the services activities. So moving you on to page 36, you can see that the assurance metric fall under 6 general headings of prevention, protection, response, assets, people, and we've got a general section as well, which encompasses a whole raft of other activities. The report focuses on performance indicators which measure our progress and effectiveness across key measures, and those include our statutory, sector and local indicators as well. So what we do with all the information that we develop from these assurance metrics are the majority of that is available on our business management information system. And one of the things that we could possibly do in a future scrutiny committee is give you a walk through the business management information system so that you can see how we use it in practice. We have local metrics and measures, which are proposed by the department managers and agreed with heads of service. And the purpose of that is that we want to make sure that the assurance measures that we put in place deal with what the management or the teams need to know and need to measure and monitor. So it's very much done on a co-production basis with the various departments. Moving on to page 38, you can see our assurance metrics reporting cycle. So on an annual basis, within the senior management planning team, which occurs once a month, we review these assurance metrics on a cyclical basis. We also report to the Fire Authority on a regular basis. And if I can turn your attention to page 40, you can see our performance indicators there. But these aren't an exhaustive range of the measures that are reported. It just gives you a feeling of those measures that we have available to us. So that's the report that I've presenting to you today. I'm welcome to take any questions and also welcome to take any suggestions for future scrutiny committee topics if there's anything particular that you're interested in that we can review under scrutiny in the future.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Martin?
Yeah, again, it's it's a really handy document to have, isn't it, with the all the metrics included, and to note that some reports are in development as we come across situations that they've taken into account. Also, I think in previous meetings we've had excerpts from the BMIS, and they've been particularly helpful. And it's good that that information is available to members so that we can dig deep on any matters which are of particular concern. It's just to point out again, just a couple of phrases in this on page 38. The first sentence there. Assurance metrics are regularly reported or reviewed, so that needs to be inserted. And there's also some missing text then on the second paragraph, but it ends "we have," with some statements which have been there. So I don't know if you know what that sentence would say, or perhaps we can.
I'll find out from the team what their intention was. But apologies for that, members. I will make sure that you've got that button down next
Yeah.
time.
If you send the material, then you know you can bring that back to us and we'll take a look at that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Trevor and Adrian, any questions?
Oh, I'm good,
No,
thank you,
not for
Chair.
me, Chair.
Okay. I've got one. It says reports and development. Is there a timeline for those?
I would have to double check for those. The ones, most of them are under my department. So what we've done as a team, we've concentrated on the rest of the organisation first,
Yeah.
and then we're looking after ourselves last. But I can come back at a future meeting and let you know what those are and what those timelines are.
Okay, all right. I don't know questions on that. Thank you very much for the report. Okay. Reports for information, item 7, policies and procedures of the service. Page 51, sorry.
We've got the item 7, retained management team's presentation.
Okay, my agenda says something different. I've got the right agenda.
Yeah. Agenda item 7, retained management team presentation.
Okay, fine, sorry.
Yep. So that's what Mark has joined us for today. So
Carry on.
I'm going to share the presentation for me, Scott. Good morning, all. I'll give you a quick, brief background about myself, really. Only a quick 30-second whistle-stop tour. I've been in the Fire and Rescue Service for 26 years, mainly in operations, and in that time I've been on call as well. So I was dual rolling from Aberbargoed and Abercarn, because I live in that area. So I can see Councillor Hussey, and I've met with him quite a few times on our on-call passive parades. So there's a vested interest here for our on-call. So I went to SMT about 4 weeks ago, and we spoke about what we're doing as an on-call team and how we're shaping the on-call to protect our communities. So the boss was quite. He asked me to come in and give you a little tour of what we do. There's a few slides. I can answer questions as we go. But it's basically, I've been in post now for 2 years, and we've made quite a few significant changes, and it's all down to our Socio-Economic Duty and Future and Wellbeing Act, where we need vibrant communities, and we need to be an employer of choice, and we need to get that 3rd and 4th generation unemployment changed in our valley communities. So we've had a massive recruitment campaign. We've shortened our recruitment down to now 12 weeks. And we're really competing with our Asda's and McDonald's. And I know it's Fire and Rescue Service, but it's still, we are competing with those other employers with the cost of living crisis and coming in at the back end of COVID. So it's 12 weeks now from basically a knock on our station door to being employed on a training course. And I'll explain a bit about the training course when we're further on in the presentation. So if we can put slide 1 up. So that's our, oh, it might go, there we are.
can you share it as a slideshow, Scott?
There's a bit of future forecasting for us as well by Scott sharing it. We want people to come into the Fire and Rescue Service who may not be employable to other industries. We give them a team ethos, we give them all our core values, and other employers then, they look a bit more attractive to other employers. So they will leave us, but hopefully the 5-year plan is going to come back into those communities, earning more money and spend that money in our communities as well, which will encourage other people to move into those valley communities as well. And I live in one myself in Blackwood, so. Have you any questions about that while you were waiting for the slideshow?
I don't know if it's worth touching on, Mark. Obviously, the recent we've had some sort of negative publicity around our sort of recruitment and retention around the retained on-call availability. So
Yeah, it's
probably timely to get the presentation.
Yeah, it's quite disappointing that there are individuals in the service that are going to the press rather than come to my team, because I manage half the risk of the service with recruitment, retention, policy and procedure, and there's some inaccurate facts being placed on Wales Online. And I was last week speaking to the Senate, to Hannah, and I've been in front of a couple of Assembly members as well, reference what the information being given and just educating them on the correct facts. So I'm sure we'll have many more. However, we're getting the narrative out there now that we are doing our best, we are trying, and we're giving the correct facts. Because when we report to Welsh Assembly Government, for our head of count, we don't report on people on leave of absence and people on zero pay. So somebody might be on the sick for quite a while, zero pay. So it puts our head count down a bit, which is, it's accurate for us, but it's inaccurate for the people that they're reporting to. So Welsh Assembly will give those facts out to the press, but then they're coming back to us saying there's a 30 or 40 people, so because they can come back off the leave of absence quite quickly. So there's a bit of narrative, and we'll slowly get the correct narrative out there to educate all of South Wales really that we are with 50% on call with our stations roundabout, and they do a wonderful job. They do an excellent job. I was actually on when we had our spate conditions with the wildfires back in June, July, I was actively seeing 5 or 6 crews of people phoning their employers to say, I want to stay on this mountain, I want to protect the communities, I want to be there. They do a remarkable job. I've done it myself. I understand family life and their work-life balance. So for some people, it's their second employment, but they do a fantastic job, and we need to celebrate that more. So I'd ask you all, when you're in your meetings with your constituents, please celebrate the success of the on-call as well.
Yeah.
First, thank you.
I think that's actually happening with the communities as well, because there was a lot of goodwill over the summer period with the wildfires, and you know, some examples of real community spirit in terms of fundraising for different fire personnel as a thank you. You know, what
They do a remarkable job. So basically, it's just a chat to you of where we are, our current work streams. We've got a lot of work streams on at the moment, and our future options and proposals. So I'm going to talk to you about availability, and you see it on the screen. It's not good. It's not as good as it could be, and that's what myself and my team are working towards, make it better. Can you put the next slide? So, as you can see, we've done from 2016 up to current date. Slightly, we went up a bit during COVID. So 2020 to 2021 went up to 90% available in our on-call stations, and we've dipped back down to about 65.8. The true stats are about 69% at the moment, and we've got a lot of work streams in the pipeline to try and change that narrative. And I'm in SNT this afternoon to discuss a narrative change that could give us another 20% availability, which I'd like to share with you at the next meeting if I could, if it goes ahead. So when the freedom of information requests are coming in and they're saying you're only 65% available, we know that in our service, we may only be 69% available, but 100% of that 69% is turning out. So we've got a rappel system that controls our on-call. When it's green, we know that fire appliance is available and will respond to somebody at the worst time of their life. Other services in Wales and in the UK automatically put it green, and they're not sure if a fire appliance is going to respond. So we're being true with our stats, and we're actually showing that they're available on that station to help their communities. On to the next one, please, Scott. So I'm going to match that with our establishment. So on the next one again. So our establishment, our head count. This might slip because there was an animation on this. So in 2016, we had a really high availability and a low establishment. We had a lot of bigger contracts then. We've done a contractual change to help with the cost of living crisis and to afford people the opportunity to move up and down the contracts, which I'll explain in a few slides' time. But at the moment, we're at 590 establishment headcount. So that's varying range of contracts and varying range of hours. We are recruiting, and we are the best in the country for recruitment. I sit on the NFCC National On-Call Working Group, and they actively come to our service to look how we recruit. And that's really testament to all the different departments involved: occupational health, our recruitment specialists, all the commanders on station, our on-call come in to make it a success and make us that employer of choice. And that's the narrative I'll keep saying, employer of choice, because we want people with us and we want to try and keep them. So retention is now my #1 priority for keeping those wonderful people. On to the next one, please, Scott. I feel like the guy off on the telly. Next slide, please. So there's our recruitment versus leavers. So over the past 4 years, as you can see, we've recruited 478 people, and 476 have left. Our establishment is on about 572, 573 at the moment. We've nearly lost all of our on-call and recruited all of our on-call. And that shows you the transiency of on-call. They will come into our on-call, they will get better employment, they'll leave us, they may move out of area, which unfortunately won't be able to become on-call at that station, which is another work stream we're looking at. Why can't I have people coming into that fire station from outside that community and keeping our appliance on the run? I'm looking at Sarah because we'll have to do some real big governance on it. But we need to look at different ways of working now to make our on-call more sustainable and to keep our availability high and protect the communities. On to the next one, please. So, if you click right and click down and stop on it. Sorry. So recruitment versus leavers. I think you might have to right click on that slide and. So we go to.
Mark, would it help if you took them out?
Yeah, actually, you haven't taken them out, Scott. Sorry. Thank you very much. Sorry about this. We'll work off that. So it does work off this one on your screen. Sorry. Yeah.
Apologies for the technical.
Apologies. It's always you did technology well.
Sorry, because it's a chance to absorb the.
Yeah. Sorry. There's quite a lot of information on my previous, and then pause that. So there we are. Right then. So we transfer a lot of on-call into our whole time. So we're looking at the recruitment versus leavers because there's been a narrative in the press saying that we're employing a lot of people and we're losing a lot of people very quickly. So when we do an RDS to whole time course, when they complete their training, so imagine 28 people come across from our on-call to whole time, approximately 43% will leave straight away. They leave. And then we get a third of the people who are left, so that's a third of that 57% left, drop their contracts. So we've only got round about 15 to 20% of that 28 people that we take over into our whole time that will keep their contracts the way they are. A lot of them lower them down because they're obviously doing their 2 days, 2 nights with their 4 days off. They want to spend time with their family. So that's a narrative we're looking at now. How can we make that more attractive to keep those people? Because they join the on-call because they want to protect their communities they live and work in. And then they're moving to a whole-time station, maybe in an urban area, Newport, Cardiff. And then they drop their contracts because of demands on them. So that'll be the next slide when we go a bit more forward. Obviously 2021 reflective of COVID. A lot of people went on call because of they couldn't go anywhere. So they thought we may as well protect our communities. There's more and more people at home, so that's a bigger risk to us as a service, rather than being in work in the day. And then we've got 39 on-call firefighters that have left to join the on-call support team. So a little bit of background on the on-call support team. It used to be called Strategic Reserve, and through a lot of work from my predecessor, there was no insurance for those individuals when they were doing the on-call support. So we've brought it in now, this detachment. So your whole-time firefighters on their 2 middle days will make themselves available to us, and we will place them at fire stations in our communities who may not have the adequate crew in to keep their appliance available to protect the communities. But we've lost 39. So 39 on-call whole-time firefighters left that community that they're protecting to go and protect another community. So doesn't sit right with me, but that's me personally. As a service, we have to protect those individuals. And I'm going to go on now to the next slide, which is the on-call support spend.
Can I just
Yeah.
ask, you said 46% leave, 43% leave. Do we know why
They leave because they've got the whole-time employment. So it's they come from on-call to whole-time, and they've got that dream job of being a whole-time firefighter. And then with the way the shifts work, they only really get one weekend clear, and we may be asking them to work that weekend because it's their second job. So they're like, no, I'll lower my contract to
That makes
them.
more sense.
Yeah.
So go to next. Hopefully. Next. So this is the on-call support spend from 2018 to 2019. I'll draw your attention to the lower right of the screen, which is £945,000, just over that we've spent to keep our on-call appliances available for the communities. We have got an underspend on the on-call, but if I can draw your attention to Abergavenny. Now, Abergavenny is a key station. So with a key station, we need to keep that appliance available at all times to protect the community and the risk to the area. So if you scroll across to 2022-23, we spent just over £96,000 putting our whole-time firefighters into that station to keep them available. We are looking at the way we recruit there, and we're looking at how we recruit and looking at the key station policy, which is another work stream, which is going to take about 6 months to do. So we'll look service-wide, because do we need a key station policy there? Because the risk has changed to Abergavenny now, with the hospital being degraded, not degraded, but different ways of working. And we've also got a really good road network now. So our appliances can get to that area a lot quicker. There is 2 fire appliances there, and we're finding recruitment a challenge there. It is a bit challenging for the individuals that live in the Abergavenny area. So we're looking at, do we expand turnout times, how we recruit, who we attract? And it's all about the contracts. We need to change the contracts a little bit. It's a wicked problem there for me and Group Manager Matt Jones, who's the GM for that UA. We are working together. It is getting better, but it's a very slow process there with how we maximise the availability versus cost for that extra cost that we're putting on that station. I know there's a lot of data on that slide. We are looking at SMT this afternoon for a new way of doing the on-call support team. How that looks, I couldn't tell you until after the meeting. As you can see, there are stations on there where we don't use any.
Well, I was going to say Porthcawl, Caerphilly, there's no money, hardly any money being spent.
So Treorchy, I'll use Treorchy for instance, because my station manager, my team actually is on call there as well. Absolutely no spend there, 100% available. And I think, as Sarah said earlier, that the new risk culture, I think it's about cultures and on-call stations. I think some stations may have lost that family culture, whereby they meet before drill, after drill, they may go for a meal somewhere as a group. Some have lost it, and that's something we're looking at nationally as well, because it's happening nationally, where the culture may be lost with the way people's working practices have changed. They may not want to stay after drill, they want to get back to their family, they may be in work all day. So it's a big piece of work, but if you've got any experience of it in your employment, please, I haven't got every answer, but I'm a sponge for different ways that people can do this role, keeping retention, keeping them happy, and keeping them motivated as well.
Councillor Watkins is going to.
Yeah, I was going to say Trevor, Councillor Watkins.
Councillor Watkins?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Question, you mentioned about development in a particular area with a on-call system in place. Does it work the other way, whereby a full-time station is not required a full-time station anymore because of basically non-development? It then will revert to an on-call station.
That's a great question. I guess a background on that, because I'm solely on call and my focus is on call. We have we look at, I'm going to ask the HCO for a bit of background on this there as well with the risk.
Yeah.
There's no intention to change the narrative of the way we got our whole time on our on-call stations based. It's proven that a lot of people in valley areas, they commute to Newport and Cardiff because that's where the big business are. And of course, our mining villages are gone now. So how do we protect those people in the evening? Because that's when they're all moving back to the communities. And in the day, how does that look? So that's our key station policy as well, of looking where the risk is. Do we have to have one station that is constantly a key station, or can we move that key station around the area where our risk is? And that's a piece of work that we're sort of looking at. Newport and Cardiff would be very busy in the day, Abergavenny in the summer, Porthcawl in the summer, for instance. You know, the population explodes with holidaymakers, Barry, all our coastal areas. So it brings us new challenges, but that's a really good question.
Okay.
I'll just add to that, Councillor Watkins. Obviously, it's something that we do constantly look at. Probably, historically, we have made those changes in the past. In my time in the service, I can certainly think of Cowbridge station changed. It used to be a day crewed station, but now it was downgraded to wholly on call. But there are no intentions currently to make any changes to the current whole time stations. In fact, is probably, I think we monitor the population growth into our area. It's probably growing at a faster rate rather than going the other way. Although there may not be significant development in the area, I think the population is certainly growing right across the whole of our town authority area. So there's no intention to make any changes, but as I say, it has been done historically, and I think other services across the country, they're exactly the same, and they do look at it on an ongoing basis, and if necessary, make the changes.
So is it monitored, or is it reviewed, say, biannually or 5 years, or what, or not at all?
I think it's monitored on an ongoing basis, because there's all sorts of factors, depending on the number of calls that we get, the population base of the area, as I say, any sort of demographic shifts, as Mark said, around whether it's seasonal based. So yeah, it's an ongoing monitoring that we do. Our stats team monitor all the sort of the call profiles and the demographic profiles of our area on an ongoing basis.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Chair.
On to the next slide then. So current work streams. Just make sure that's. Yeah. So a bit of a. You must have a fantastic quick laptop. Right. So our current work stream. So we are members of quite a few working groups. We are the on-call duty system working group nationally. So we're looking at how recruitment's best afforded. Yeah, there's a national website for recruitment. We're looking at that as a fit for purpose. I lead the group, and we're seeing where that money better spent for nationally. They want to use some of the ways that we recruit because it's working. We don't struggle to recruit our on-call firefighters apart from the areas that I've said. So we need to channel all our efforts into those areas. There's a few in the service, but we are on an upward curve for recruitment. There's the retention aspect. So we formed an on-call duty system working group where we invite members of the on-call, all the service into it to just see how we can make it better. And we also have an FBU working group, so we regularly meet with our trade union representatives to tell them what we're doing and because they're going to have the members in the backs of their minds at all times. So training. So bit of a narrative shift. So if I was going to ask the chair to come and join the on-call, I'd say to him, within the first year, I'd like you to give us 4 weeks. I'd like you to do a 2-week initial training course and a 2-week BA course. So we're really asking that person, if you've got primary employment, don't have holiday with your family because you're going to have to use all your annual leave to come and join us and to do those courses. So we've done a bit of work with Training School, and we're proud to announce that we're trialling a 3-week initial training program, which starts in March. We've already got 10 people on it. They're busting to do this trial for us. So I'll split the 3 week down into a 1 week core skills course. At the moment, we do 2 weeks. So we're splitting it down to 1 week. People are saying, well, why aren't you getting 2 weeks? Well, we're giving them 8 weeks pre-course learning before, which will give them their lectures, all the health and safety, all the EDI that we need to do. It's all been programmed in those 8 weeks pre-course, which is 10 sessions with the station. Then they come to us for 1 week, and it's 1 week of pure core skills training on the drill ground at Cardiff Gate or Abercarn, where we can facilitate it. And then if they want to, they can go straight on a 2 week initial BA course. So as soon as they do that BA course, they can actually up their contracts, and they get a payment scheme, which is 40% of their qualifying pay for completing their BA course. So that to me is, we're going to pay them a little bit more and hopefully retain them a bit longer, because when they complete their RTC and their trauma, they get another 40% of the qualifying pay. And at the end of their 2 years, or their skills for justice qualification, they get the final 20%. And we put it out to all the on-call. We asked them their thoughts and feelings on this, and it was resounding yes. Please can you do that for us? Because if I was to join the on-call now and I had to wait 6 to 8 months for a BA course, I'm only on a 42% contract, which is, there's a wage there, but it's not as much wage as I could potentially be earning. Usually, and I got some feedback from people on their BA course, they've said as soon as they complete their BA course, they want to double their contract. They want to do 80 hours. They're doubling their money. They've got, what one young man said to me, I've got a car loan to pay for. This will help me pay for that car loan. So we're getting feedback from the on-call when they're training, when they're in their courses, and asking them what best fits them. So I got asked the question, well, what if they can't do the 3 week course? They don't have to do the course. We'd like to have every avenue for that person that we're getting from the community into our on-call. We want to get them the most comfortable journey into the fire service. So that is that 12-week recruitment program. And in that, they can either do the 1 week initial course, and then when the time is right for them, do their BA course, or they can say, yeah, I can do the 3 weeks, and I can have a week's holiday with my family as well, because we are asking them to take those 4 weeks to give us those. And you may be asking, why is BA so important? They're not actually on our establishment figures until they complete their BA, because they will not be able to put the appliance on the run on our system until they've got that BA set and they're qualified in that. So we've moved on from there now. Training school have said, well, if you're doing that, we can help out. We can give you a 1 week combined trauma and RTC course, which takes it from 6 days to 5, which we can run Monday to Friday for those employees that are able to take that. If not, we can split it over the course of weekends, because we've got to look at people who are employed Monday to Friday. There might be people on shift. So we've got to move with the times and not say there's one rigid training course for somebody. We've got to engage with them and make them, allow them to be able to do which avenue takes them. And we might have 5 people doing 5 different things, but the end goal is the same, but it's how their journey is there for us as an employer to help them. And it's that employer of choice again. It's that word I keep using. We want to keep those people engaged. We want to keep them on our on-call. And hopefully over the next 3 or 4 years, that's the plan, our retention will start to go up. But nationally, we're up there. We're not as bad as our colleagues in England. They really do struggle to keep people, because they're paid by their call. With the salary, they're going to use that as their mortgage, down for mortgage payments on a house and car loans and things like that. So we got that sort of contract with the individual. On to the next. So we're also doing a thematic review. The Dan Stevens report that came out, the head of ops came to me and said, can you look at everything on call? It's on time to be complete by March 24. Once we've completed it and taken it to SMT, I'm sure we can share it with yourselves. And that's everything. So the current outlook is there's enough training hours for the practical skills. So the 2 hours drill they get each week, there's enough hours in that year, or a 2 year period, for them to train on the drill yard, using all equipment of the fire engine. However, we asked them to complete an online PDR Pro, it's called, and that is their online diary of what they've been trained to. There's not enough hours for them to complete it. Nowhere near. What at the moment we're asking for goodwill for them to do it in their own time. We pay them 1 hour per month to complete it, so we pay them 12 hours a year, but we are approximately 4 hours a month short for our on-call to be able to complete that. So it's a bit of work we're doing. How does that look? They get each employee gets 16 hours training per year extra, but that is for attending exercises, doing the SSRIs, because that's a big risk to us, the SSRIs, so they need to be exercising against those risks as well. So,
Sorry, Mark, you may have to explain what SSRI is.
so it's site-specific risk information. So imagine a big factory in your area. Our crews will go and visit that factory. They will carry out a workbook. They look at everything for firefighter safety. Those visits are taking 1 to 2 to 3 hours, depending on the size of the industry and what they do. And we have to go back there on multiple occasions, meeting with the responsible person, the hazmat advisors, and we've got a workbook that they complete, and we keep on station, and it goes on to our fire appliance, so that if we, in the unfortunate event we have a call to that industry, it's there for us. And we've got the operational crews that have visited that premises are there to say, we know that premise now. So it takes a lot of time, and we were finding that some people will say they haven't got capacity to come in and carry those visits because, you know, they're employed as well. We do our CFS, we go to schools, and they're very passionate about protecting their communities, carrying out the home safety checks. And, you know, I did on call, and I visited my daughter in school. It's fantastic that you know, to see your daughter going, there's my dad there, he's a firefighter. It's really important for that community as well. So they've got that they can use, and they can use it for extra training. So if 3 stations get together and they might go to a quarry, they might do some water training, they might do some wildfire training. They can use that. It's there for them as extra payment for those hours that we're asking to do extra, because 2 hours a week is just enough. So those extra bits that we're asking them to do, we allow them to be paid for it, which is monitored, and we'll at the end of the year we'll let you know how many hours we use, because some stations don't use them, some people use them all. So it's that fine balancing act. So we've got some key recommendations. So our on-call support team future options, do we continue with it? Do we consider an alternative? Do we remove it? Or do we use day duty staff? So we've got in HQ, I believe there's about 50 day duty staff that is fire safety. My team, I've got some day duty staff in my team. So can we use them to go onto a fire station and do their day job and keep the fire appliance on the run? If they have a call, they go to the call, protect the community, and come back. There's some difference of opinions. I always say we're asking an employee that works in Asda, that maybe Asda Brimau, for instance, we had an employee working there that his alert would go, his employer would let him go, sit on that fire engine, protect the community, and then go back to work. So that's exactly the same as us asking our employees. They've got to keep their operational competencies up, the same as our on-call on our PDR Pro, and they've got to keep their practical elements up. So why can't they go and fill those gaps until our retention's better? So that's something we brought to SMT, and there is a bit of appetite to do that, and there's appetite from our day duty staff to do it as well. And we've also got some corporate staff that do our on-call, that work in this building. So why can't they do their day job from an on-call station? So that's something to be managed locally in departments, which I may be able to update next time, reference that. But that's another piece of work which I think is advantageous to the service as well, and cost effective. So that's the on-call support. So we've also got key station options. So I took this to SMT because of the Abergavenny issue with the amount of money we're spending there, putting our on-call support team in there. Do we continue with the current key station policy? Do we review it? Do we amend it? Or do we relocate new into Abergavenny for the duration of the build? Number 4 is off the table. That will not happen. 3, 2 and 1, that's all being moulded into one now, and I've been given the lovely task of looking at service-wide, what does our key station look like? And that's, I'm going to do a bit of work with Mid West, with North, and with our neighbouring brigades as well, because not forgetting, if Chepstow were there, we've also got Avon we can rely on, because they will come cross-border the same as we do. We go into Mid West, we go up into Hereford, do you know, so we're not just South Wales, we move quite a lot, and they come into us. So it's looking at the population, how they move. Do we really want, as I mentioned earlier, a key station that's sat there with no population, where the population has migrated out and comes back in? It may be worth looking at, like the Porthcawl in the summer months. Do we make that a key station? So we've always got to have an appliance available there for the risk of people going in the sea, the risk of the amount of people in that community. So that's a bit of ongoing work, which is going to take 4 to 6 months. We've got control involved, we've got key partners involved. So it's going to be a huge undertaking looking at our statistics, but I hope that we can make it better for certain stations and key dependent stations as well, which depend on other stations being on the run, for them to be able to go and do their training and other aspects of their day job. This was the data for moving New Inn during the build down to Abergavenny. So it's a bit of relocation response times. We could have moved a key station to Cwmbran to make them available all the time if we actually put New Inn's appliance down into Abergavenny for 2 years, keeping them available 24/7 while we recruit slowly in the background. It's off the table. It's not going to happen because we are going to look at our avenues with our day duty staff, because in the nights Abergavenny's totally crewed when the population are back there. It's just we struggle for day cover in Abergavenny area with the amount of people who move out the area to work. So that's something, maybe day duty staff, maybe members from people from other communities come into that hub to work for the day. I know Welsh Assembly Government mentioned it. They're looking at their staff to be able to come out from their day job and be able to crew our appliances. Obviously, they've got to complete the process and complete the course, but that'll be a win for us. And you know, if you know anybody in your work life that live near an on-call station, please tell them to come to one of our information days. We're actively out in the communities, just asking for people to come and help us and help their communities as well. So I'll whistle through these slides quite quickly because it's still about the relocation data. There we are. Okay, so on the contractual amendment. So at the moment, we've 8 contracts in our on-call system, ranging from 30 hours up to 105. The maximum is 105.
Sorry, hold on. Is that 105 hours a week?
105 hours a week, that individual.
So they have to be on call for 105 hours?
They've got to give availability for 105 hours,
okay.
But we ask them for maximum flexibility. So somebody that has no employment, they will give us the 160 hours in that week. And we would be able to put them on call for 105 hours of that contract.
And
so
is it still you've got to be within 5 minutes of the station?
Yeah.
Fine.
So I know of employed individuals who do their day job and they give every other hour in that week to maximise those high contracts. I find them a bit restrictive because we've only got, I think, about 12 or 13 of those high contracts in the management structure because they've got their day job. We're asking an individual to give their 42 hours, 42 to 40 hours a week in their primary employment and then be on call for us every other hour. So that's something we're looking at. We're looking at, as I say, an alternative option. We're looking at maximum flexibility. We're looking at how flexible we can be to the individual. If you want to join the on-call chair, we would say, well, what's your employment at the moment? And how can we employ you in the range of hours? So it's what suits you and what suits the service as well.
I was going to say, because if you're doing, I don't know, 37, 40 hours a week, you've got you're only allowed to do 48 hours in a week anyway.
We're out of the working time directive with on call because we're on our alerters. So
right.
They will be in the house. We only employ them technically for the 2 hours drill and our community safety over the month.
To figure out how to do that.
Yeah. Well, I did whole time and so I was day crewed in Abercarn before it went to on call. So I did my 4 day shifts and my 4 nights on call day crews, and then my 4 days off. I was on call for those 4 days in my on call contract. So it's a massive ask. It's a massive undertaking with those contracts. So what do we do there? Do we keep the contracts? I'd like to see a Monday to Friday 9 till 5 contract so we can attract our single parents. They can, if they got children to school, and there you are. You can be on call at the station or in your house, in your home if you live in the area. We're missing a trick there. I really think we're missing a section of the population there where we can actively recruit. So that's something we're looking at. Obviously, we've got with the rep bodies about that as well, and senior management to see where it looks. Do we be brave and try it? I think so. I think we need to look at everything we can for those communities who have the protection 24/7 of an on-call appliance. Just pause. So at the current, you can see we have our contracts at the top and the hours, the range of hours they have to give us. And the potential is not going to take the 4 contracts, because what will happen is the 100%ers will stay the same. The 90s and 80s who sometimes struggle to give that availability will drop to the 75. And then we've got the weekday cover only. Or do we make a hybrid of them all? Do we have a massive range of contracts there that can suit you? So you might join Chair, you might go, do you know what, I can give you a 70% contract. I'm really keen, my employer's fine for that. You find it a bit too much after 3 or 4 months of being on our wildfires on the mountains. You might say, do you know what, I'm going to drop a bit here. And I understand there's a knock-on effect of that with our payroll, with all the other things in there. But the individual, I'd rather have an individual on a fire appliance for the 42 hours than not at all. We need to be really flexible with them moving up and down those contract ranges. So is there potential to change to 4 or keep the current 8 or have a hybrid of 6? I think so. I really think it'll help the individual as well. We don't want to be rigid. I joined in the old thing. I was 75%. I'd give 63 hours into the old thing. So 63 hours per week. I was on call for pretty much all of them, and it's a massive undertaking. So we've got to look at the demands on the individual with their primary employment, their work-life balance, and their well-being as well, because there's pressures in work, there's pressures in the fire service, there's pressures in family life. So how can we help that individual? Because they all they want to do is protect that community. The passion they show is well, I wish I could bottle it and sell it, because we make millions, because they just want to be there serving their communities, and that's why we're all here. We're all here to get, I say, a red fire engine out through the door with 4, 5 people trained to the best of their ability and the most passionate they can be to protect somebody in the worst day of their life. We phone the fire service when we're in our really time of need, don't we? And that's why we're all here, basically. I think, if I'm right. Oh, there's one last slide. Sorry, your computer's amazing, Scott. It's brilliant. It's hurrying me up. That's what we need all the time with me. So there's our current contracts and our potential contracts. So if we look on the top block, if we look at somebody that's on a 30% contract, they've got to give 400% availability, flexible availability, rather than somebody right at the top on a 100% contract that's only going to give 120% flexibility. So as you can see, I don't think it's very fair on the individual that's lower down the contracts, because they've got to give more hours availability. So the potential could be, it works the other way. So somebody on a 31.5-hour contract, 30%, is only required to give the service 60 hours availability, which will be split between, obviously, weekdays and weekends. So an 80, 20, 70, 30, we haven't worked that out yet. But I think it's more fair. So if the chair said, on the old scheme, I'm going to join, I'm going to do an 80% contract, I'd say, well, chair, you've still got to give me 126 hours availability. But the potential, you could join, you only got to give us 117 hours, which may not seem a lot, but those 10 hours are precious. It might be when you need to take your children to football training. You might be it's time for you with your family. So there is scope for change, and there's an appetite for change as well. How that looks over the next few months, we'll see. But it's all about the individual, and it's all about keeping that engagement with the individual and their well-being at the end of the day. So that's the potential. So that's me. Do you want that back, Scott? Screen on. Are there any questions? I'm sorry it was quick. I understand that time's precious for you in these meetings, and Scott's laptop kept moving me on anyway, which is brilliant. And thank you, Chair, for allowing me the opportunity to brief you on where we are on call. And we're going to be brave. We're going to try new things, and I think we need to. My last outgoing statement is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. We have to change. We have to change the way we look, the way we work, and the way we engage.
That was very interesting. Thank you. Trevor, Councillor Watkins has got his hands up, so I'll go straight to him first.
Yeah, only one question. Are you going to consult with some of your on-call staff before you actually make a decision, or go out to consultation or anything like that?
Absolutely, Councillor. We've just had duty officer seminars where we consult with them. We've actually did a survey to all on-call staff, and the resounding results were pay was number one, then contracts, then training. So we've engaged with everybody, basically to say, what can we do for you? What's most important to you? Time off, pay, and training was really important to them all. So we're working down them as we go. We'll target number one, which was pay, which we're looking at now with the payment scheme, with how we train people, with how we keep them engaged, and then we'll move down to flexibility of contracts. So we've done it in priority order with what the on-call staff wanted.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Adrian, got any questions?
Yeah, only a quick one to Mark. With the problem of recruiting out in the sticks like Abergavenny, is there any scope for extending the 5-minute time from the station? I believe that a while ago they was looking at that type of thing.
Yeah, Councillor, we have got a paper on that, which we're going to take to SMT probably in the new year. What we're going to do first is we can extend that. We can look at somebody that lives 6 or 7 minutes out and see how that looks, because they won't be on our establishments until they complete their BA qualification. So for the first couple of weeks, if they don't do the 3-week course, we'll be able to monitor it, and we're also actively monitoring the 30-20 as well, and how that affects our turn-in times. But we're going to monitor that over 6 to 8 months from before that to after that. So yeah, we have got a paper on that. We have looked at it. But the best recruitment for us is word of mouth. We sometimes need to change that mini culture on stations, whereby we need passionate people out in the communities, because word of mouth is the best recruitment tool we've got. It'll surpass any social media, any advertisement. If I make the community go in, come and join my station, it's fantastic. People will want to be part of that family. If I'm out there going, you know, you might live a bit far out, or you may be, because we may get individuals like that. It's not going to be as positive as we can be. So it's definitely in the scope. I know USC, we've changed the turnout time to USC, and now they're 100% available. So that will tie in with the key station policy as well when we look at over the next 6 months. But I would, if something happens, I will bring this back to the panel for you.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Right. Martin?
Yeah, I found that information very helpful, and especially with the contractual arrangements, because I think that's sort of really at the core of it. In looking at them, I just wonder whether we're giving sufficient attention to perhaps attracting women and other groups of our population who are underrepresented at the moment, in looking at some of these contracts that are being looked at. What could you tell me, what's the breakdown of male to female recruits?
Right, I'll come back to you with that data. I don't have that hand, but we had an on-call assessment day last Wednesday, which we've decided to run it now. Not a full day, because people can get time off their primary employment to attend. So we run a morning session, afternoon session. And in the morning session, we had 40% female to male, and the afternoon session was 50% female to male. Okay. So we're actively we're going to our rugby clubs, our gyms. We're trying to break the mold and have a 50-50 split. That would be my ideal goal. But we are actively recruiting our females and people from our minority backgrounds as well. On-call is a weird concept to grasp, because the amount of people that come in and do the tests and join is, well, you can see it's 476 over a 4 or 5 year period. It's not the recruitment, it's that retention side of things. However, as you mentioned, if we get those contracts and we hit those contracts properly, we may recruit people that may say, do you know what, I can only do weekends. I can only physically give you weekends. Why aren't we capturing that? Is that fair to other people? And that's the fairness and quality aspect we need to look at there, where people are saying, well, I'm Monday to Friday, and I had that as well when I was on call. Why am I doing Monday to Friday and that individual's doing it? Because of family and circumstances. So we need to look at being flexible, but having maximum flexibility as well as a service, because at the end of the day, we need to say, well, no, actually, you may have to crew that appliance at times when you don't want to, but you contracted to us, and it's for your community. So it's that fine balance, and it is a real hard balancing act to get the contracts right, and for the individual and for the service. So yeah, but we are actively looking at those contracts, and please, if you've got any knowledge of different contracts, please can you bring them to us. Honestly, we don't know everything, and if I wish I had the magic wand that could say, there we are, we've got a bespoke everything fits all, and with your help and support, we will make it that 1% a day. I say 1% better every day, and it's brilliant now. I strive for excellence, so that's what we want.
Yeah. If I, separately, I decided to become on call.
I think you should, yeah. Are you near to an on-call station?
I am, but I am not allowed to. Bit of a conflict of interest. I was saying that as a crow flies is 5 minutes, but the Catholic in Gaffilia, I take probably an hour. So question: if I said I wanted to do 30 hours of,
yeah,
okay, would I get to choose where those hours are, or is it just blanket?
So you give us your if you're employed, you would have your employment in there. So say you're Monday to Friday 9 till 5.
Yeah.
So from 8 in the morning till 6 in the night, you wouldn't be available to us. So you'll be available every night and every weekend.
Right.
But it's only 30 hours. So if you did a 10-hour Monday, a 10-hour Wednesday, you might only be available then for the Sunday. If your station's fully established, you may not work your 30 hours. You may only do 28, 27, because everyone else has got to have that crew of 5 on the appliance. So the lower contracts are better for the individual, because on the contracts at the moment, you're given 126 hours availability, really, with throughout, because of your day employment. But we can only put them on that fire engine for 30. So what happens then is, say you said I'm available all weekend, I'm available Monday to Friday as well in the evenings, and they say, look, Chair, we've got to put you on all weekend. It's somebody's on annual leave. You could then say to your friend on the on-call, can you cover me on that Saturday? And they'll go, yeah, I'll cover you. And then he'll say, and you can say, well, I'll cover you on the Friday night. So there's always that family where they say, I can cover you, I can do this for you. So there's many avenues, but yeah, the choosing that their rotas behind rotas. So you might say every Thursday I've got bowling, and the person who does a crew might say, well, I can give you that every Thursday off for bowling, but you have to cover so and so that's got rugby train on a Friday. So there's those mini rotas that work behind the main rota, which keeps that fire appliance on the run.
I think the 9 to 5 is worth looking at. I know there's a firm, I won't mention who they are, but basically they do what they call a child-friendly employment, which basically is sort of 9:30 till 3. And so people come in, people who have children and don't necessarily work during that time, they can come in and they do 9:30 to 3, they leave at 3 and go pick their kids up.
That's fantastic. That's
and I think we have to be more open to the way society is, and I think that would go a long way to actually recruit more people across the spectrum, rather than just go down what still a lot of people think is a male-dominated
absolutely
job.
Yeah.
So I'm very supportive of what you're doing, and hopefully when you've got this new program up and running, you come back and update us.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at Sarah now, because Gloucester, I was at a national meeting, and there's my equivalent role in Gloucester. He has an on-call area like Abergavenny, for instance. He's really struggled for day cover, couldn't get any. So he thought, well, why can't I invite people from outside the area who work at home? They can come on our station, use our Wi-Fi, they can use our electric, they can use our shower facilities and our gym. And he's got 4 people now that go there every day, Monday to Friday, and keep that appliance on the run. He said, my recruitment problem is solved there, because they always do it. In the evenings, it's fine, because everyone's moved back to the community, because they've done their day job. But he said, in the day, I was really struggling, and it's working. So I'm going to go meet with him in the new year. I'm going to see what governance there is. I'll bring it back to the expert sat opposite me, and we'll have a look. But I think we're missing out. We're missing out on all these people who are working from home with the cost of living crisis. Energy bills are rising. They can come and work on our fire stations if the governance is there for it, and the GDPR. But that's something else we're missing. But thank you for your input there. That's and support as well. We all do it because we love it, Yeah, but thank you very much for your time.
No problem, thank you.
Boss, anything from you?
Yeah, if I can, so just a few things. Firstly, and I think it's clear to see Mark's passion for the role he's undertaking for the service, and how much he enjoys this job and how much he's trying to make a difference for the service and the communities that we all serve. I think it's fair to say this is a national challenge. It's not just a challenge that we are facing, albeit maybe that's perhaps how some areas of the press are trying to reflect it. This is a challenge every single service across England, Wales and Scotland are facing. Retention and recruitment of retain is a challenge right across the country. And I think certainly since COVID, people's lifestyles, people's commitments, people's priorities have all changed. So the challenge has only grown bigger, I think, since COVID. I think from Mark's presentation, you can see the efforts that are going in across the service to try and address some of the challenges that we're facing. It's probably, I think, Mark, you didn't probably deliberately didn't remind members, but are we still the only service in the country that pays a salary scheme for retains?
We are, yes, but there are services looking at how we do that now, because it works for us. It's not the best it can be, and we're getting there. But there are other services that do a pay for availability. They're looking at hybrid systems of how we do it. It is a system. It is an envious system for people, because there are some stations that they get the retainer, but they're getting 8-10 calls per month, and they might miss those calls because of their other employment, so they're having no wage. We get that wage, but we also our on-call staff then go out and they do our protection of the community. They're doing our smoke alarm visits. They're giving our safe and well checks. They're going to our schools. They're out in the community as well. And I think that's really important that we see fire engines out in the community, and that's a massive thing for me. As a child, I loved a fire engine, and I still do. So, and that's where we get our community engagement. But as the boss said, the salary scheme is it. For those employees, they can use it for their mortgages, for their loan. They can use it as collateral, as we say. It's fantastic.
So yeah, and just to sort of wrap it up, I think hopefully members will get the assurance that we're constantly monitoring the situation. We're constantly looking right across the on-call picture across the service, and that we're not afraid to look at new ways of working, different ways of working, trialing new things to try and make the improvements that we're hoping to see. And Chair, I think it'd be good if Mark comes back in 6 months and gives an update on some of the progress that we're making.
And please, I'll email Scott our on-call assessment days in Abercarn. If you're near to Abercarn, please, if you can make time, come to them, see our people from the communities coming to join the on-call and see what we do for the national tests, the ability tests, and see them on the drill ground. Honestly, we have people from Mid and West came. We've had Avon over to look at how we do it, because it's so successful. Out of the 42 people that came on Wednesday, we had 38 successful. They get their medicals, and they're waiting in the system now for a training course. We're there. We've got 140 odd people in the system now in that 12-week process waiting for those training courses. So that 1 week core skills element with the 8 weeks pre-course is a game changer for us as a service. And it's a game changer for training school. I'm not asking instructors to be on the drill ground for 2 weeks. They're on the drill ground for 1 week, maybe 8 times a year for that 1 week course, but they can concentrate on other avenues with the training school need, because every department's under pressure. So yeah, what we do domino effects into a massive spider's web, really, with how other departments are affected. And I always got to look at that threat, risk and harm to the communities, the service, and to the individual, of why we do things and how we do them. And it's a very analytical thinking for me for that. But yeah, I've got to try new things, and with your support, and the boss is fully supportive in our SMT meetings. I believe that we will get that 100% availability. That's my goal. I won't for 99, I want 100%. I want 100% of our community protected all the time.
I think the other one, just mention as well, linking it in, is obviously the investment that we're making into our on-call stations as well. So if members are not aware, we've committed to a sort of £9 million programme of improvements across our on-call stations over the next few years. So again, having better facilities, better quality stations, that can only help with recruitment as well.
When everyone works from that end, when we pull them all into for the hub. Brilliant. And we've got to think of those individuals' mental health as well. People working from home may not see people. So we can get them in as family. But thanks very much.
Sometimes that's not a family. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you online.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All the best.
Cheers, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Hope to see you soon.
Yeah. See you at our on-call assessment day.
Okay, all right. Next item, number 8, is policies and procedures of the service. I think that's you, Mr. Thomas.
Is this one me, sir?
I've wrote it for you, boss, but if you want to.
It says to be presented by Gavin Thomas.
Go on, so you can take us through it.
Do you want me to do?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, so, right, I've just lost my page now, bear with me. Okay, so this report is to provide the Scrutiny Committee with an overview of the policies and procedures within the service, so that the Scrutiny Committee can identify areas of interest. The recommendation is that members note the policies and procedures within the service and identify those areas of scrutiny that the committee wishes to review in the 23-24 municipal year. Just looking at the background, one of the main areas of the terms of reference of the committee is policy development and review, which is why this has been put on the forward work programme for you. And in Appendix 1 of this paper, you can see a list of policies and procedures within the service. We're asking the committee to look at this list of policies and procedures and identify any potential areas of scrutiny that they would like to pursue in the forthcoming meetings. Appendix 1 is broken out, so with our policies and procedures we have an overarching policy. So for example, on page 47 you can see that we've got our corporate policy of health and safety, and then underneath that you can see all of our health and safety guidance notes, HSGNs, and then we also have our procedures, the OPs, underneath health and safety policy as well, which are numbered OP 01001 occupational health services, and then underneath them. So there are some main headings which are health and safety, our people, which includes training. We've then got our assets, communications, consultation and engagement, finance and procurement, information management, operational response, and then risk reduction and our business continuity policy. So I don't propose to read the extensive list to you members, but if there are any areas of interest, we can programme them in the future.
Thank you very much. It's very, very interesting. We have quite a lot of policies. Has anyone got, I was going to say, do you want to come on out?
Yeah, I was just going to, in terms of the challenge to us as a scrutiny committee, we're looking at some of the policies. Under corporate policy 06, there are a number which are to be issued. So I think possibly, retention might concentrate on those seeing as they've been introduced for the first time, rather than to go into detail on other policies that have been, in place for a long time and have probably been fine-tuned over the years as well. The only other comment then, I think I raised it at a previous meeting, is if we just have some indication of the cycle of when these policies and procedures are reviewed, so that we know then that we keep into time and that there aren't any policies that are overdue for review. So perhaps that's something for the future, that we could perhaps have an additional comment in brackets about the review date or something of that nature.
Yeah, do we I take it we review these policies on a regular basis, or some of them are so set that they're just there?
Yes, so we do review the policies on a regular basis, and one of the things that we do when we develop or we review the policy is that we also review the periodicity that it needs to be reviewed under. Sorry, there's so many reviews in that sentence, I can't think of a better word. And our policies generally have a 1, 3 or 5 year review. I think those numbers are correct. So for some, for example, where it's legislatively mandated, if the legislation doesn't change, why are we looking at that on an annual basis? We would push that out to a longer review period. And we do have a suite of measures on our DMIS system, which does look at the policies, when their review date is, when they were last reviewed, and people are actively using that to manage their review process on the policy, so that we don't end up with ones which are very out of date. So that's definitely something that we can bring to you as a future report to the Scrutiny Committee, so that you can see how we're managing our review process around those policies.
Anybody online got any comments or anything they particularly want to bring forward to review? No? Okay, all right, so members to note that, and if there is anything that you want to review or any policy you want to discuss, if you could let Sarah know. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, next item is forward work programme.
Thanks, Boss.
Yeah, the standard format of the work programme, obviously for the entire municipal year for the committee. Sets out all the agenda items that we've currently gone through to date and the ones for the future meetings. We'll be making one change, definitely one change to the programme going forward for the February meeting. Need to add into the work programme. Members remember at the Fire Authority, the last Fire Authority, there was a report on the NFCC Spotlight report, the culture in the fire and rescue services nationally. And it was requested that the Scrutiny Committee discharge the update on those, how we've taken on board those recommendations and what actions we're taking to implement those as a service. They get reported to this committee. So in the February meeting, we'll bring a report on that. I was just wondering, Chair, if you wanted to add into that meeting as well, then that policy review report, which we were just talking about, showing the timescales and the review dates for each of those committees, if we add that in as well.
Please.
Yeah.
Would you want at that same meeting or then the subsequent after that look at those areas of the ones, the policies that are to be implemented as well?
Yeah, 06. Yeah, I think that'll be good.
Yeah, so we include that as part of that update. So it gives a bit of a deeper dive into those policies.
Any other comments on that?
Nope.
Thank you very much. Next item is to consider any business that the person is urgent. I don't have any other than to wish you all a Merry Christmas. But those who you go.
Sure.
All right. Thank you all very, very much for attending. And see you next time. Take care now. For those online, have a safe journey.
Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Arthur.
Cheers.